In comedy, few people are more revered than Robin Williams. Imagine performing and he describes you as hilarious, and he says he never stopped laughing.
Wow, that's exactly what happened to Mark Cordes. He's performed for more than 30 years, headlining clubs all over, including the Funny Bone this weekend.
And Mark Cordes is here this morning. Mark, good to meet you. You've never been on this show.
I've never been on,
So
and
it's good to have you.
And it's just like a gut punch when you said 30 years.
Really? I saw you drop your head in your hands.
I know, he's just
What?
What have I done?
Well, we set that up. Robin Williams, though, I guess to have Robin Williams describe you as hilarious, what did that mean to you when he said that?
It's very special. It was a couple of New Year's Eves ago, obviously. I think it was the New Year's before he passed, and I was out in the Bay Area doing a show, doing a big theater about a mile from where he lived. And I'm back in the green room, and it's 5 minutes till showtime, and the manager of the venue comes back and said, "Hey, there's a guy that would like to say hi. He's here for the show." And I said, "Cool." And in walks
He just
Robin
said a
Williams.
guy,
Yeah.
right? A guy.
And in walks Robin Williams. I'm like, well, this is a little pressure. And then Robin didn't want to sit out in the crowd because people would be preoccupied with him. So he sat, I'm on stage and there's a curtain behind me, and he sat on the other side of that curtain about 10 feet away.
No kidding.
And watched it on a video or on a monitor. But he was behind me, and every now and then I would hear that big Robin Williams laugh. Hey! And it was very, very weird to know that that was Robin Williams, who's made everybody laugh.
Yeah.
Was laughing at something I came up with. So
That's awesome.
it was awesome.
Describe your shows, Mark. Even though you've been coming to Omaha for a long time.
Yes,
I always like to talk to the new fans who haven't found you yet. What are your shows like?
Well, you know, I think they're, as you said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've learned that you've got to be broad-based in your comedy. I think everybody enjoys what I do, from young to people that are not so young. And that's something I'm really proud of. I tend to do a lot of stuff about relationships.
Yeah, right.
And I've written a one-man show called The Spouse Whisperer.
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Well, I'm kind of an expert because I've had 5 successful marriages. And no, I'm totally kidding. I'm on my second and last. I have an ex-wife. I hate that term. I prefer to think of her as my mulligan. I knew you were a golf fan, so I threw that in. But I talk a lot about relationships, what makes them work, how to make yours better, if you're in a bad one, how to get out.
Well,
and it's
so how can we make our relationships better? I feel like we need to talk.
Uh-oh.
I mean, my relationship's fine, but how can you make it better than it already is?
I'm having a Dr. Phil moment here. It's not just the hairline. Are you married, man?
Yes, sir.
How long you been married?
7 years.
Well, there you go. That's
Whoa.
How long did your first marriage last?
7 years, but I'm just saying, probably just a coincidence. We'll talk off camera.
Okay, sounds good.
No, I think the big thing is you got to have fun. You got to laugh. You know, there's a great quote: "People fall in love by smiling at each other, and couples stay in love by laughing with each other." So when I do my shows, I get a lot of people that come up and say, "I can't believe you said that about your relationship with your wife, because that sounds just like me and my husband."
Yeah, right.
And you know, when you realize that other people are going through what you're going through, it kind of makes you go, "Okay, I didn't marry the only weirdo." You know? And I make fun of men, and I make fun of women.
Right. Yeah.
You're an
equal opportunity. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But your shows are clean. We had somebody on the show last week who was at the Funny Bone.
Joey Diaz.
Joey Diaz. I don't know. Yeah. You know, you've seen his shows.
On the other side of the spectrum, because Joey says if you are sensitive, you probably shouldn't come to my show because it's going to be edgy. You might get offended. Like, I'm not worried about your feelings.
If you go see him.
But you, on the other hand, you want to open it up to more people.
It's not squeaky clean. You know, my show's like every good relationship. It's just a little bit naughty. You know what I mean? It's not over the top. But, you know, you got to have a little bit of fun with it. It's not super vanilla. I mean, I do a lot of corporate stuff. I've worked for a lot of big companies. I'm doing a show in the not too distant future for Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah, right.
And I've done stuff for Pinnacle Bank and all that. So you got to keep it clean.
You're at the Funny Bone this week and all weekend. 2 shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow, and then 1 on Sunday. But you really got your start at an open mic night. I've heard that from other comics too. Is that how yours started?
Yes.
Was it awesome, or was it a disaster?
Mine was probably a little bit of both, all crammed into 5 minutes.
Right.
I went out drinking with a bunch of my buddies. It was right after I was getting divorced, and next thing I know, the lights come down, and it was open mic night. And about 10 guys got up and were terrible. And my buddy said, "You should do that."
So you went up. Did you prepare something?
No, I went in the next week.
Okay, the next week.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I met David Spade. He did the
What?
same thing, and he's a buddy of mine, and he was the only one that
And the
knew what
rest
he was
is
doing.
history.
And the rest, I'm in Omaha.
Yeah.
And Mark,
We're glad.
and happy to be here. It's a great city.
Have
At
you,
the Funny Bone all weekend. Mark, nice to meet you.
you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Mary.
you so much for being here.
Earlier in the show,